The INFP personality type is mostly known for their quiet, yet creative and caring nature. But what about those annoying stereotypes of this introverted type being emotionally unstable and possibly delusional hippies who are out of touch with reality? Yeah, those are the ones we're going to be debunking for you today. Welcome back, Psychos. In today's video, we'll be talking about the typical INFP stereotypes. But before we start, have you liked and subscribed to our channel? Go ahead, and be sure to click the notification bell while you're there so you never miss a video. Alright, let's get right into it, starting with number 1. They're emotionally unstable. One of the most common INFP stereotypes seems to be emotional instability. Whether it's deemed as being overdramatic, sensitive, or emotionally out of control, some people seem to think the INFP is a walking, talking drama queen that can't quite get a grasp on their fluctuating emotions. Now, we're not saying that this intuitive personality type doesn't have strong-willed emotions that run very deep, but they actually aren't keen on displaying their raw emotions for everyone to see. In fact, INFPs rather not see any more vulnerable than their quiet and reserved demeanour may cause them to seem. And luckily for them, their more dominant feeling function is introverted, meaning they are much more likely to deal with emotional matters independently rather than taking them to others for advice. Of course, like most people, INFPs can reach a breaking point in stress and bottled emotions where they need to just let it all out. But it's rarely done outside of their own company. Number 2. They're illogical. With introverted feeling at the forefront of the INFP's most dominant functions, they do tend to make decisions based on their internal morals, values, and emotions on the matters rather than logical facts and figures. However, this doesn't necessarily mean they're incapable of logical reasoning. As a matter of fact, the INFP can actually be quite good with reason, especially the INFP's most extroverted thinking function is well developed. Yet, they still don't look at logical reasoning as their first and most important factor in decision-making like thinking types may do. Instead, INFPs tend to intuitively grasp of a situation and then use that to prioritize how the situation will affect everyone involved. For example, if an INFP manager is challenged to fire an underperforming co-worker, they may look to see how being fired could affect that person personally, or how it could affect the job satisfaction of the remaining co-workers. It may seem logical to immediately let go of weak links of a team, but the empathetic INFP knows there's more to it than that, and more often than not, the additional reasoning always works in their favour. Number 3. They lack motivation. Motivation comes and goes throughout life, for just about every personality type, and so it can be quite unfair to deem the imaginative INFP as having an overall lack of motivation attached to their personality traits. Although many perceiver types may struggle to follow through on certain projects, it's not to say that they can't overcome this challenge to achieve the dreams that they hold close to their hearts. Actually, that's the exact key to the INFP's motivation: passion. When something feels absolutely right for this introverted feeling personality type, it can be hard to slow them down. For example, if an INFP is job hunting for a position in a deeply desired job sector, they can spend day and night perfecting their application and interview skills. Yet, if an INFP is pushed to find a job because they feel pressured by other people, motivation can plummet, making it extremely difficult for them to push forward. For the INFP, passion equals motivation. Number 4. Their needs are always above other people's. Despite the INFP's deep empathy for the people around them and their willingness to do just about anything for their loved ones, they do actually tend to listen to their own needs first and foremost. But it doesn't affect them in the way you'd expect. As we've mentioned, naturally INFPs are drawn to their own internal emotions, and because of this, putting others above themselves in a decision they make intentionally rather than it being a natural occurrence. They don't put the needs of others before their own needs because they feel obligated or because it's the logical thing to do, but instead because they sincerely want to. So this INFP stereotype of putting their own needs above other people's is actually far from the truth, because unlike other types, their empathy and generosity overrides their introverted feeling function in order to ensure people around them are happy. Number 5. They can't stand up for themselves. Contrary to the INFP stereotype of putting their needs above everyone else's, some sources actually claim that INFPs are known to live their lives being constantly worked over by others. Although some people with the INFP personality type may agree that they can be guilty of people-pleasing, it doesn't mean they don't know how to stand up for themselves when the situation calls for it. Through trial and error, INFPs actually develop boundary-setting habits that act to decrease their chances of absorbing other people's negative energies. They may not be able to do it in the same way other personality types may go about things, but they're able to feel other people's emotions in a way that others can't. INFPs are able to gauge the most ideal way to stand up for themselves without being too blunt or offensive. Number 6. Their idealism is delusional. This idealist daydreamer personality type has been assumed time and time again to be out of touch with reality. And while it's not totally far from the truth in terms of the INFP's preference for their idealistic viewpoint, they know how to play human when they're expected to. In other words, INFPs are aware of the reality that exists beyond their passion-filled daydreams. They just prefer to live without losing sight of their desires to live a meaningful and purposeful life. Sure, to some it may seem unrealistic or too optimistic, but for the INFP, it allows them to stay focused on their desires to create a real impact on the world. In fact, if you think of famous INFP writers such as William Shakespeare and J.R.R. Tolkien, you can see that their fantasized imaginative inner worlds fueled by their most famous pieces that we are all familiar with today. Of course, nothing in this world is perfect or comparable to imagination, but INFPs aren't oblivious to that reality. Number 7. They're completely unorganized. Okay, the key word here is completely, because there's no doubt that there's some truth to the fact that INFPs can be slightly disorganized in certain aspects of life. In fact, people with perceiving personality types such as the INFP tend to prefer a flexible and spontaneous way of life with a desire to experience life rather than control it. Therefore, things like decision-making, organizing, and planning can pose a challenge. Because of this, they tend to take on more than they can handle and may get easily distracted when trying to focus on tedious tasks. However, it doesn't mean they don't know how to organize their lives and surroundings in other ways. For example, not all INFPs have sporadic schedules, chaotic home lives, and a track record of being unpunctual. Most INFPs have certain areas they struggle to keep in an orderly fashion, while other areas get their entire focus. Sure, it requires a little more effort, but it doesn't mean they're incapable of maintaining their lives in an orderly fashion. And number 8, they're overly indecisive. There's no doubt the INFP can indeed struggle with indecision in life, but it doesn't mean they avoid all decision-making because of it. INFPs often challenge themselves to make the most moral decision in every aspect of life, which may require them a little more time to decipher exactly what that decision may be. This extra needed time is often what gives the INFP the stereotype of being unmotivated or uncommitted, when in reality, all they need is the time to weigh out their moral options. This may be considered to be overthinking, but it's only because they often find themselves in limbo of being on one of the two sides of a spectrum, and never somewhere in between. They don't jump to conclusions and they don't rush to decisions because they want to know how the deeper meaning behind why they're choosing what they're choosing, rarely making decisions just for the sake of coming to a conclusion. Well, that's it for today, Psychos. Let us know in the comments below if you agree with these debunked stereotypes. Also, please don't forget to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel for more Psycho videos.